We are back, the number one boxing podcast in the world, based in Houston, Texas, and starring a 1992 U.S. Olympian, former IBF world champion, former Showtime broadcaster, and hosted by what some people would say was a ring announcer who has kind of disappeared from the boxing scene. I am your host, Lupe Contreras. Welcome to Raul Marquez's Punchy with your host, Lupe Contreras. As we do always, we cover what's been going on in the boxing world over the past week. And let me welcome in the aforementioned star of the show, the one and only Mr. Raul Marquez. How are you, sir?
Doing great, man. Doing great. It's
Diamante,
been a long weekend. It's been a long weekend, bro.
I know some of us have been working as well, Diamante. For someone who has disappeared, I had a very busy weekend this past week. But let me tell you, this morning I had a bit of a Diamante celebrity experience. Because of the wisdom that you shared with me on how to do my finances. I had a CD that was maturing today, so I had to go down to the bank over there in your neck of the woods where the money stacks so high that sometimes the phone signal doesn't come through. Kingwood, Texas.
They let you in. They let you in.
They let me in.
Wow.
They let me in. Once they saw the balance on the CD, they let me in.
You get in there. You get in there. That's good.
I'm getting slowly inching penny by penny. I'm getting over to your status. So I head on over to this bank, and I had just been talking to these people over the phone, and they're all women there. So the woman had mentioned earlier that she recognized me because she would hear my voice on the phone, and she knew who it was. So I walked in, and all the women were waiting because they wanted to see what I looked like in person because they had heard me on the phone.
Right.
So it reminded me of back when I was in radio where I was telling them, I said,
were they disappointed or were they
that's
happy
what I told
or?
them, that people usually would be disappointed because whatever they imagined in their heads I look like, I never really matched what it was, back in radio. Because I did radio back before the internet, before people could just Google your pictures or whatever it might be. So I had a bit of a celebrity. I thought to myself, this is what it must be like to be Raul Marquez. Everywhere you walk in, people just kind of congregate and people just
Did you like that feeling? Did you like that feeling, or no? You rather be without it, or?
I can see how it would be intoxicating. I can see how that would get to your head, and I can see why you are the warped human being that you are now.
It's a lot. It's a lot sometimes. It really is, man.
Let me go back to the little thing I referenced. You were this weekend. You were out at the Boxing Hall of Fame, and you said someone said to you, "Oh yeah, Lupe, he used to ring announce, but he's kind of disappeared." So I've got 3 words for that person. Google me, son. Google me. Let them know where I've been.
Is this about you now or what?
It is about me because I had a great weekend. As I said, for someone who has disappeared off the boxing scene, I had a show Friday night here in Houston on the Zone. They went over to San Antonio, had Pro Box TV.
Wow.
Diamante, we did the town in San Antonio. Normally I don't even go out.
Oh, I saw you were partying with Juan Manuel Marquez. And,
I was partying with the real Marquez. The one and only Juan Manuel Marquez. So we did the show. We finished off the Zone on Friday night. We got done probably by 11:30 or so. I get home. It's a good drive from the arena back home. So I get home around midnight. Had to wake up at 5. Got on the plane. Just got enough time to go in there and have some breakfast, and we were back at the show. So I was dead tired, but I was really hungry too. So we all piled into a car, and I thought it was going to be a question of us just going to get some food real quick. And we go back to the hotel. No, it became into something much more than that. We ended up at this Mexican restaurant called El Gallito Sinaloense, which it's basically.
Are they paying you for that?
No, they're not paying me. But they treated us really. They treated us really well. So we go in, we walk in. They sent me ahead to be kind of like the scout, the recon guy. I got the table and we sit down and it was packed. The place was packed. And it's wall-to-wall Mexicans, like hardcore Mexicans with cowboy hats, the pointy boots, and everything else.
Right, yeah.
So we're walking in. They start noticing, Marquez, because, like I said, he's the real Marquez. He's a celebrity.
Yeah.
So they start turning their heads and they're looking around, and slowly but surely, one person gets up, approaches, and before you know it, the floodgates just open up. Everybody's taking pictures.
It's crazy, huh?
I can see the jealousy building up in your face, Diamante. Why are you getting jealous, man? I'm just telling you my weekend.
No.
So anyway,
I'm just listening. I mean,
So it turned out into this whole thing. The manager comes up and he goes, "Hey, would you guys prefer to go into a separate room?" I said, I think he might prefer it. I'm cool, but so they moved us into a back room. We had security. We had to do with a gun and everything. It was cool. So there was any type of seafood that you can imagine, and you can put Mexican spices on it. We had like squid, we had shrimp, we had all sorts of specialties going on.
Good seafood.
Good. It was really
Mexican
really
seafood
good.
Is good. Yeah,
Mexican style was fantastic. There was even a clown, believe it or not. There was a clown making balloon animals. He made a balloon animal, well, not a balloon animal, a balloon person in the shape of Manny Pacquiao and gave it to Juan Manuel Marquez. So it was nice. It was nice to get the star treatment. I don't have to ask what you did. I know baseball is your life, but I wanted to point out something to you. When I first met you years ago, I would have to say that this video that I'm going to show here, this was about your level of understanding as to what baseball was all about.
Okay, we have some pillows. We have some pillows on the dirt, and then we have some grass, and then we have people to stand all around to make a grabbing of the downstairs, grab of crouch, look around. Then man with stick is there, and then man look at stick man, and look at man with glove, and he make like this one. For like 1 minute with a man, and then he boom, he throw a ball to the stick man, and the stick man may hit. If he make a miss of 3 times, then out. But if 4 times the throw is bad, boom, then he may walk to a pillow. Or if he make a hit of ball and it go to the side of the paints, then it is more hits and hits and hits. But if he hit a ball very far, then he may run on all the pillows around the pillows. And sometimes someone is stealing the pillows, and sometimes a man is, if you hit a man with a ball, then he may run to the pillows, and many people.
I have a question for you. Did Liam steal any pillows this weekend?
I don't know. Hey, I don't know if it was that bad, but you know what? I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of baseball, but now it's like I'm a baseball fan, man. This weekend, you see the videos I sent you. We had a great weekend. I mean, after I got back from Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, I did a show over there for the Zone, and I came straight to Dayton, Texas. Liam had a district championship games. They played 5 games, Lupin, and it was very exciting. They were able to capture the district championship. It was fun. My parents were there. My cuñado was there. My mother-in-law went. It was, of course, my wife and Alina were there. The whole team. We had a great time, man, and it was fun because they won the district championship. So now we advanced to the regionals in Center Texas in 2 weeks, and we keep going.
You sent me some videos, and if you've heard of soccer moms, Raul's a baseball dad. You're like the loudest one there. You're screaming,
did you see when Liam hit the home run? Did you see how people got excited?
I did. He ran around all the pillows. He touched every pillow. He did all the pillows.
Yeah.
Before I forget, I want to invite everybody to like and subscribe. Raul, everywhere that we've been going, at least one person comes up to us and they mention this. There was a referee by the name of Ben Rodriguez. His whole family's involved in boxing. He's out of Chicago. He came up to me this weekend at the Zone show and he told me, man, I really enjoyed the show. So don't keep it to yourself, guys. Tell your friends. As I mentioned to Raul earlier, 78% of the people that watch our show are not subscribed. So like and subscribe. Look for Raul Marquez's Punchy with Lupe Contreras on YouTube. Look forward to Under Punchy Show on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts, because as we mentioned, we're trying to get those numbers up. We're trying to keep going, championing on.
By the way, Lupina, over there at the Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, I had same thing. A lot of people were telling me about the show, that they like it, they enjoy it. You and Lupe are a good team together. And I said, well, yeah, you guys got to like and subscribe. So I'm telling everybody right now, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. We need it. We need it, right, Lupina?
Yeah, we desperately need it. It is looking sad as you like to say. But we're going on. We are confident in the show. We believe we can make it work. The only thing is people keep telling me Raul needs to work on his background because your background is looking really sad, bro. It's looking really, really sad. But we move on and we start off with the news on the shows, and we go to the part of the program that we like to call the main events. And Raul, we had a good weekend, but But one person who did not have a very
Yeah.
good weekend was out in Norfolk, Virginia. Man, Keyshawn, this was being built up to be his big homecoming, his coming out party
Yeah.
for all his fans out there in Norfolk, Virginia. And unfortunately, he missed weight, and he didn't miss it by just a few fragments. He really missed it by a mile. What were your thoughts on seeing that when you saw that he had missed it by so much?
Oh man, what an embarrassment, Lupina. I mean, you got your hometown homecoming, all your fans that buy tickets that come to support you and not to make weight. I mean, that's very irresponsible, man. And I think that a lot of trainers, most trainers and managers would agree with me. How do you not make weight? Even Mr. Bob Arum, he was that's his promoter, and he wasn't happy with him not making weight. He made weight in February. That was his last fight. He made 134.5 pounds. And his opponent, De Los Santos, he hadn't fought like in a year and a half ever since he fought Shakur Stevenson. He made weight. So, I mean, I think that's ridiculous, man. That's not good. That doesn't look good on him. Let's be honest.
We both have seen fighters who have been struggling to just squeeze out every ounce of water that they can from their bodies. Guys like Mike Garcia. If there's a great documentary called 2 Days, which follows the fighter 2 days before their actual fight. There's footage when he's walking around and he is so dry and so lacking in things inside of his body that he's literally dry heaving on the way to the scale. Guys like Brandon Rios that you would see, they looked absolutely gone. Completely drained from their body. When I saw him at both during fight week and just before getting on the scale, he did not look like a guy who had really pushed himself to make weight.
I agree. I guess he just didn't care, man. That's disrespecting, boxing. That's disrespecting your fans. And then he says, well, yeah, now I'm outgrowing the division. Well, guess what? Then don't move up in weight. Why even go along with that weight? If you're outgrowing it, just, move up to the next weight division. So again, man, that makes it look bad. He makes boxing look bad. We don't need that kind of for people to show up and not make weight, man. I'm so against it. I'm very against it.
Now, one of the things that occurred as well was, obviously, like you said, De Los Santos had been out for a couple of years. He makes the weight.
Yeah. Right.
The final decision was in the hands of his manager, Samson Lickowitz, who is a guy with tremendous amounts of experience. He knows what can happen. He cited the whole Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney issue where Devin came in significantly overweight, and he saw how difficult it was for his fighter to contend with that. Were you in favor? Do you think that was a good move by Lickowitz? Obviously, his guy still got paid. He made the scale.
Hey, yeah.
And he got his money. So it seemed like a pretty wise decision.
Absolutely. I was all for it. If your fighter makes weight and the other fighter's not making weight, hey, why even fight that way? It's already not a fair fight. And I'm glad De Los Santos got paid. I'm really glad that he got what he deserves. I look at it that way.
And it was a weekend that, as we said, it was built up to be a big homecoming. They were fighting. All three brothers were going to be fighting there in Norfolk, Virginia. You had Keyshawn, who obviously did not make the weight. The fight gets canceled. Everything gets scrapped. Right. And then it actually got worse. Kelvin Davis loses to Nahir Albright. And then there's a fight where let me go ahead and show you here. This was Albright speaking as to what happened after the fight. He apparently was attacked by both Kelvin Davis, pardon me, by Keyshawn Davis and one of his other brothers. And here, this is his account as to what happened in the locker room.
Yeah, I was in my locker room and celebrating my victory with my team. And Keyshawn and his little brother came in and they started looking at me. It's like they're saying something about his older brother, like they was mad. And he like grabbed me, pushed me back. I'm like grabbing his head. He like moved his head towards my head. Felt like a little.
So you bumped heads?
Yeah, he like headbutted me. Yeah, he like headbutted me.
Oh, okay.
Can I see that?
Keyshawn did?
Yeah. So that's what happened.
Any words between you and them after the fight that might have led to this incident?
No, actually, like I said, I was in the locker room. Their locker room is right next door to mine. So I guess they heard like us like happy and all that kind of stuff, and they came in, started trouble.
Did anyone punch you or anything, or is it just a headbutt?
Yeah, just a grab and a headbutt.
Why do you think they would do this?
I mean, they upset that their brother lost, and yeah, poor sportsmanship.
So it went from missing weight to attacking the opponent. Everything just pretty much went to hell, man. Can you think of another time when it was supposed to be a huge fight, a huge homecoming, a coming out party for a guy like Keyshawn Davis, and it absolutely went to hell in the handbasket?
Yeah, I mean they just can't take losses, man. Just take the loss and move on forward. But obviously there's some beef there too because now here Albright, who I covered on Showbox Showtime, the new generation. By the way, he sings. I don't know if you know he's a singer too, but he fought Keyshawn in 2023, where Keyshawn won by majority decision. It was a close fight. But then they overturned the decision to a no contest because Keyshawn tested positive for marijuana. He tested positive. So there was already some beef there. But at the end of the day, man, I feel like they can't take losses. I mean, take the loss. Kelvin Davis lost, who, by the way, my son Arturo beat his ass in the amateurs, and he didn't take that loss very well either. That's a long time ago. But, yeah, I mean, that's not sportsmanship, Lupita. I think if you lose, you lose. You take it. Go with it. Go get a rematch. Go get better. Do whatever you got to do to get better in boxing and correct your mistakes. But I think that's ridiculous, man. It was a clown show, man. I mean, you don't do that. I mean, it's your homecoming, dude. You got fans that are waiting for you that paid a lot of money to go see you, and you do this kind of stuff. It's not right.
It was absolutely a crash and burn, and he works with a very professional camp. He's training with Bomac McIntyre, who works with pound for pound king Terrence Crawford. One credit to them. They talked to Albright. He said that both Bomac and Crawford came into his locker room and apologized for what had occurred. Let him know that they were very sorry.
Professional, that's good.
Yeah, that's world class sportsmanship, world class. Respect for an opponent. He said they even took pictures with him in the locker room. So
nice.
That seems to have been squashed. Now, can he come back from this? Do you think it's something that obviously the home crowd? It's hard enough to get someone to care about you, to spend their money to come out to an arena on a Saturday night when there's so many other things they could be doing. They have to lose a little bit of the money. The promoter is not happy with you as well. How does one win back a fan base after doing something like this?
I don't know, that kind of behavior, man. Look at what he did, man. Him and his brother and the other one too. They're a team, right? They're a team. All the three brothers. I don't think people are gonna go well with that kind of behavior. It's gonna take a lot for them to move forward. Maybe just straight up apologize to the public, apologize to Albright, realize you did wrong, apologize because of your mistakes, and realize that you're wrong. Hey, I didn't make weight, I should have cared for my fans, just a big apology, Lupina. I think that might help. Don't you think so?
I think it can help. I think once people lose interest, it's really hard to get them back on. It's kind of like a snowball effect. Once the snowball gets going,
and it wasn't
and to jump on the bandwagon, they get on, they become, those fair weather friends that, especially in markets like Norfolk, which are secondary and tertiary markets. People go not necessarily because it's boxing, they go because it's an event. And they don't want to feel left out, and they want to support. And they know the guy's a local guy. They want to represent for the city, and that they feel that connection with the fighter. So once you lost that connection, I think it can be a difficult sell to bring them back. But on a good note, we head on out once again across the Pacific. We go to Japan as Junto Nakatani got one step closer to kind of setting up a showdown with his fellow countryman Naoya Inoue. He was able to win 2 titles in the bantamweight division, and so it puts him in the position. And you can see Inoue was in the crowd there looking on. What did you see in that guy? I mean, he's a guy that the best way I can compare it. Obviously, he would have to go up in weight to face Inoue, but it's almost like a mini Nakatani would be Hearns, and Inoue would be like a Sugar Ray Leonard type in the mini weight class divisions. What are your thoughts on that bout?
I like Nakatani. I mean, his accuracy, in that fight with Nishida, right? The punches, man.
Nishida.
Nishida, his eye. Did you see the way he left his eye? He's got power. I mean, he's explosive. He's hungry. And he still has time before he fights Inoue. Inoue, I mean, that's the biggest. Him and Inoue would be the biggest fight in Japanese history, But I know there's Antonio Vargas that he could fight next to win another world title, the WBA title, and I believe there's Takai. Takai, that's another the WBO champion. He could probably try to win those titles before he goes on and fights Inoue next year in the biggest fight, like I said, in Japanese history. It will be huge, Lupina. It will be very big.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves because obviously in September there's already a showdown planned between Inoue against MJ Amagdaliev. So he has to get past that, and MJ is no joke, man. He's a little tank, so he's going to have some issues there. And as we've seen, Inoue of late, he gets dropped early, he recoups and comes back. But there comes a point too where sometimes that's not always going to work. That's not always going to happen. If you get caught early, sometimes there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good to look up ahead. Like you said, MJ's a tough opponent, but I think he's made. I think he's made for him. I think he'll get over that fight and move on to the bigger fights.
As we said, Nakatani captured both the WBC and the IBF bantamweight belts in that particular fight. He's also a guy that you can tell. I don't want to say that Inoue isn't hungry, but in a way, definitely he is in the star role in Japan. He is the guy everybody pays attention to. He gets, the lion's share of the media coverage. There's something in Nakatani that I don't want to say he feels disrespected, but he definitely feels like he's, the redheaded Japanese stepchild of some sorts, where he feels like perhaps he's not getting the shine he should get because Inoue is there, because Inoue is getting all the attention. And that seems to be fueling him a little bit. You get a sense of that as well?
Yeah, I kind of do, but it's normal. I mean, it's normal to feel that way. And that's why they want that fight to happen. And look, if it happens, then he's got a big shot at Inoue, and he's got a big shot at taking that spot of Inoue. And I'm sure he looks forward to that day whenever it does happen.
We move on to the co-feature portion of the program. The big news that came from outside of the ring was one of the greats of the past decade to 15 years decided to call it a quits. Vasily Lomachenko, he says adios to the boxing world, and he decides to retire at the age of 36. Now, when you look back at Lomachenko's career, obviously a guy 2 Olympic gold medals, fought for a world title in his second bout against our old friend Orlando Salido. Do you think he was a guy that lived up to the hype that came with him, or was he a guy that perhaps maybe came into boxing perhaps a little bit later, past his absolute prime? I don't think he was done by any means when he did come into professional boxing, but do you think that perhaps he spent a little bit too much time in the amateurs?
Oh, for sure. I mean, just think about it, Lupita, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Imagine how many amateur fights he had. I think he had over 300 or 400 amateur fights. That is a long time. I think he probably should have turned pro after he won this first gold medal. He should have it probably would have been more successful even to capture more titles in the pros. But nonetheless, I mean, he was only got 18 professional fights, 18-3 with 12 knockouts. I mean, he was very entertaining. He was known for his technical skills, his footwork. He was his speed. He was exciting. I think he had a great career, and I know he wanted to retire because he wants to spend time with his family. And hey, he deserves it, man. That's everything. Family's everything.
He's a guy that just look at his accomplishments, man. Let me read them off here. WBO featherweight champion, WBO super featherweight champion, ring lightweight champion, WBA lightweight champion, WBC lightweight, IBF lightweight, WBO lightweight.
That's a lot of titles.
He was a total of under 30 fights as a pro, and he was able to pick up all those belts. That is quite the accomplishment for one fighter, especially on the, I don't want to say the latter half of his career, but on the other side of the rainbow.
I mean, he was fighting for a world title for his first 5 or 6 pro fights would be now. So he was fighting for world titles with very little fights. And you got to respect that because that's the talent that he had, coming out of and he had to be in a fast track because spending so much time in the amateurs, two-time Olympic gold medalist. Once he came out of the pros, there wasn't enough time because of his age too, and he spent a lot of time. So they put him in there with tough guys and world title shots, and he performed.
What I admire most about him is when he did come in, he said it himself. My time is limited. I'm going to be on the fast track. I want the tough fights. He seemed to be more concerned with belts than anything else. He wanted as many belts as you could see. You would see him in some of those classic pictures where he's got, his arms covered in belts, his waist covered in belts. I was talking to somebody this weekend, and I thought of this statement. And let me finish before you give me your feedback. I was thinking about it, and I was saying that perhaps in the last 15 years, maybe not with the general boxing public, but among fighters, I think Vasily Lomachenko is the most influential fighter of the past 15 years, because you see it in the gyms. People are doing things that prior to Lomachenko coming into the ring, they didn't do. The exaggerated footwork, incorporating some odd training techniques. Even in the gym, when I've been in there, when you and Gio have been training, you guys yell, "Give me a Lomachenko, give me a Lomachenko, give me the angles and that." And it's something that the fighters. I can't recall anyone else who had that type of impact on fighters in the gym.
I agree with you, man. The little fast twitches, from moving righty to lefty right away, and the angles switching quick, the speed, the way he throws his fast combinations, and the way he changes the speed of his combinations and is different with his combinations, the jabs. You're right. I think he influenced a lot of young up and coming fighters because. Gio does it, and I see a lot of other young guys that do a lot of Loma moves inside the ring.
Do you think that was one thing that perhaps, aside the fact that he was an Eastern European guy, everybody always said, too bad he wasn't Mexican. If he was Mexican, he would have been a superstar. It's like me, for example, if I go see a ballet, I don't know the difference between community college ballet and, Mikhail Baryshnikov, the greatest of all times. Do you think sometimes when casual boxing fans were watching Lomachenko, they didn't really know what they were seeing, or it was so high level that they couldn't quite grasp how great he really was?
No, I don't think. I mean, people that know boxing, Lupe, the guy was a mastermind. He was a student of the game. I mean, the school of boxing, but he boxed beautifully, man. If you couldn't appreciate that, if you couldn't sense that, then you don't know boxing. I look at it that way. I loved his ways of boxing, the way he an aggressive minded fighter. When he fought aggressive guys, he would adapt to any style. That's how good he was, and I respect that, and I really respected that.
The most fun fight of the weekend, we head back on over across the pond. It was Fabio Wardley. It was his homecoming. And man, it was a lot harder than he expected. He was fighting a guy by the name of Justus Haney. He was a late minute replacement out of Australia who replaced Jarrell Miller. As a mirror, there's always seems like Jarrell Miller has to pull out of the fight for some reason.
Always, that's been his story, man. But it was good it was good for the other guy.
Yeah, he was showing himself to be really, really good. He was a guy with a big amateur background. As we said, the last-minute replacement. But it went to the 10th round, and that put Wardley at 19-0-1 with 18 KOs. But, man, this guy had to really dig deep, especially being home. He was behind on all the cards. He was lumped up. He was getting pieced up by Haney. And then out of nowhere comes that right hand and just put the guy flat on his butt.
You know the saying, Lupin, it only takes one punch. Yeah, he slipped the right hand, and he came back with an overhand, a monstrous overhand right, and he landed, and he was able to win by knockout, dramatic fashion. It was exciting. Now he's in line to fight for the real WBA title, the guy that wins between Pulev and Hunter. They're both fighting for the WBA title, so he gets to fight the winner, and that's a great opportunity. But, like they say in the heavyweight division, all it takes is one punch, and that's what happened.
They talked to Wardley afterwards, and I really liked his attitude. He gave a very good review of himself. He said, I know I'm not an Usyk. I know I'm not on that level. Tonight proves that I have to go back and work on some things. And I really like that assessment that he gave himself. And I like it when a fighter is honest about that, especially when you have so many people around you, there's so many yes men sometimes that it's hard to have somebody actually be truly honest with you. But when you're honest with yourself, you know what you have in you, you know where you can go, you know what you can do, and you also know what you cannot do. Another fight that was of significance took place down in Australia. You had Jai Opataya, who he continues to make noise. He's a guy who was in the cruiserweight division. He, I took care of a guy by the name of Claudio Squayo, who was undefeated, 17-0, but the guy had never fought outside of Italy. I mean, if he was a soccer player, I'd say, okay, cool. In Italy, you're doing something well. But as far as in boxing is concerned, when you haven't fought outside of the country there in Italia, it doesn't fare well for you. Usually when you go, all the way to Australia and then face a guy in Apataya, what do you see in him? What do you think of his skills?
He's a strong guy, Australian-born Samoan. I mean, a huge right hand, and now he's calling out. He wants to unify with Zurdo Ramirez, so that would be an interesting fight.
It's a big step up. I mean, a
It
guy
is.
in Zurdo is a big ass Mexican.
He is, man. I didn't realize how big he is until you've been
No.
around him. He's a big dude, man. Yeah, he's a big
I did
guy.
a lot of his early fights. I mean, I'm like
Yeah.
6'1". They say he's 6'2". No, that dude is
Nah.
not 6'2". He's about 6'3", 6'4", and he wears cowboy boots, so he looks like 6'6"
Right.
sometimes, and he's got the hat on. How would somebody like Opataya, he's obviously talented.
It's a long shot, man.
I mean, I wasn't dissing
Yeah.
Italia, but let's be real. If you're an undefeated fighter out of Italy, it doesn't mean a whole lot. If you're an undefeated fighter, down in Australia as well, you have a lot to prove, especially when you're calling out guys who with so much experience, like a Zurdo Ramirez.
Exactly. I mean, and that's same thing, Lupina. There's levels, but it would be a good opportunity for him. I mean, to position himself into fighting Zurdo Ramirez. Plus, he's from Australia. He's a big draw. I'm sure it's a fight that could happen. I think Zurdo would like it. Get the IBF title that he's got. But it's a long shot for Opataya to win that fight because Zurdo, I mean, let's be honest, he's a different level of fighter and he's got a lot of experience.
And we head on over to the final portion of our podcast, the undercard, where I made my living. And Diamante, I usually have something fun for you here, but this time, as I said, I had a very busy weekend. You had a busy weekend. I can see it on your face. You're sunburned from being
tired.
I'm
still worn out.
I was tired too, man. Believe it or not, I usually try to get up early. This morning I could not recuperate. My old bones can't keep up with the partying. As I said, we made it back to the hotel probably like about 3 o'clock in the morning.
You were partying hard, Lupita. I never seen you party that hard.
That is going to be my amount of party for like the next 6 months. I rarely leave my house, but that one pretty much took all the juice out of me. I'm maxed out. My social battery is completely drained. I can't do much more. But on the undercard, let's talk about a couple of. I mean, the best thing I can say about this fight, it's still. I want to believe it's going to happen. I want to believe they're getting things together, but it's something that's still being rumored. This week, they were talking to Dana White this weekend after his 316 card in Newark in the post-fight press conference, and he said for a fact, he confirmed, I am promoting this fight. I am working with Turki Al-Sheikh. I am working with Sella to make these things happen. It's still up in the air. They have not announced the venue. From what I read and from what I've seen, everything is still possible. Everything that they talked about originally, and we know Dana. Dana's a guy that when he opens his mouth, the last thing he wants to do is to anyone to be able to come back and say, you couldn't do it. It's a challenge for him.
Right.
So if he announced Vegas, if they announced Allegiant Stadium, you can pretty much put your money on it that Dana it's going to be, like we said, with us, hell or high water, you're going to get a podcast at 4 p.m. on the Monday. And Dana is a hell or high water kind of guy.
I think it's going to happen. I mean, it is going to happen. I've been told in the past by, certain people, Lupita, I don't want to say any names, but don't believe anything that they say outside of, until it's coming out of Dana's mouth. And if Dana said it's going to happen, and he's never said it wasn't going to happen, it's going to happen. So I believe it's going to happen. I mean, you have Turkey, you got TKO, and you got Dana White and Sella. It's going to happen. It's going to be in Vegas. I don't know what platform it's going to be on, but I truly believe the fight between Crawford and Canelo will be promoted by Dana White. You know, what the last we heard was that Dana wasn't going to be a part of it, but I do believe. I mean, Dana will be a part of it.
It does seem that there is some turmoil going on behind the scenes, but money can fix anything. Money can take care of whatever problem ails you,
Right.
whether it's medical, whether it's in love or business. Money can take care of it. As we mentioned, there are reports from boxing scene that Netflix is still on the table. The one issue is that it's moving to September 13th. They got past the whole pay-per-view conflict with Noche UFC. Noche UFC has been moved to San Antonio. It's been scaled back. It's a free event now. It's not going to compete directly with the fight that would be going on in Las Vegas. The one hurdle they have to get past is Allegiant Stadium has a football game going on with UNLV. Now, we know your boy Dana has a lot of political connections. And from what I understood,
did you see him coming out with Trump, man? The last UFC?
He's definitely connected. He's connected. So
I know you're not a Trump guy, but I understand.
I'm not trying to get deported. But anyway, apparently they can make a few phone calls, and from what I understood, UNLV is not opposed to going elsewhere, basically. So maybe they make a little contribution to the university.
There you go.
They get another gym built.
Make it rain, baby.
Maybe get some new weights in the training room, and they would disappear just like I've disappeared from the boxing scene.
You love the thought of that people say that. It was funny that people got to know why we keep talking about that, Lupina, because I sent you a video where actually somebody was talking about like Lupe Contreras. I've never heard of Lupe Contreras. Is he still? And then this other guy was like, "Is he still working?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm over here trying to hype.
Well, it was two people. It was two people you were conversing. First of all, I believe it was the producer that you were talking to. He said, "Oh, Lupe has kind of faded out of the box."
No, he's still working, man.
But the announcer that you were referring to, who? Oh, let me ask you this: did he know who you were?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, no. Answer the question correctly. Did he know why you were there, and was he told who you were, or before he walked in the room, did he know who you were? Because he did not seem to be a boxing guy.
No, he knew who I was before he walked into the room.
Okay. He probably read the welcome letter and the.
Hey, I am el diamante, bro.
He read the welcome letter and got.
I only show for big events, boxing Hall of Fame events, like that kind of events. That's my job now, bro.
You know why I
only
show
for
up
big ones.
You know why I show up for?
For
I show up for the chequecitos, my friend.
Make the chequecitos. You gotta make them, man.
Speaking of big chequecitos, one guy who did not care how big the chequecitos were this weekend was our boy Teofimo Lopez, according to reports. And okay, let's be honest. I still have my doubts because there are reports that say that he was offered as much as $11 million to do the fight. The way the boxing media has been of late, there's a lot of BS that goes out there that you don't know what's real, you don't know what's being planted, you don't know who is behind what story. But of course, let's pretend that it was real. He was offered Devin Haney August 16th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. At first, it seemed like it was on, and then it wasn't on. And I think the bigger question is what is going on with Teo's career? What is happening there?
Well, I mean, Teo's he's a drama queen, bro. He's a novela. He's a soap opera. Just trying to create attention. You saw how he got into it with Turkey. Like on Twitter, like he called him a dictator. Then he apologized. Then he challenged him to a fight. Did a poster of him. He's all over the place, bro. I don't know, but. He got offered $11 million, and now he's rejecting that. He's just trying to get more feria, bro. Can't blame him. He's trying to create excitement. Like I said, he's a drama queen. He's a novela guy, and he's trying to get more feria. He's trying to get more money. You can't blame him for that.
I mean, one thing I don't understand, you've seen numerous reports. He's always addressing that he's got some personal issues going on, but every fighter has personal issues, man. We all do. Yeah. I have personal issues. I've got a dog with holes in them. You got holes in your body as well. But my question is, what I don't understand is, you've seen them numerous times talk about that, he was having financial problems, then he wasn't having financial problems, having family problems. Dude, $11 million solves a lot of problems.
You're right.
A lot of issues. So I'm not quite sure exactly what's going on there. They did release a statement through his co-manager Keith Conley. It says, "Unfortunately, Theo won't be fighting in August for personal reasons that I will be confidential. That I will keep confidential. We want to thank His Excellency for the opportunity and everything that he has done for Theo. We plan on fighting him, but with what was going on, we wanted to make sure he was 100% right mentally and physically. And August was just too quick of a turnaround." So they're alluding to whether it doesn't seem like he has anything physical going on. It wasn't a particularly taxing fight that he had with Arnold Barbosa.
He just fought not too long
was,
ago. Exactly. Yeah. He just fought
yeah,
not
he
too
pretty
long
much
ago with Barbosa.
just kind of cruised through it. If you were managing Theo, what advice would you give him?
I would say, look, let's try to get this fight going. Let's try to get a little bit more money. Let's try to negotiate. And if we can't, then dude, like you said, it's $11 million. That would solve a lot of his problems in many ways. So that's what I would tell him.
No, but I mean, at some point, I know your negotiating technique. You've always been one of these guys where if somebody says, "Oh, I'll give you 100," you think, "Oh, damn, I could have gotten 120." But there comes a point where you got to be happy with the amount that's being presented. Dude, $11 million.
Yeah, I honestly, man, I would say take this fight for $11 million, because if you win this fight for $11 million, the next one you're gonna get paid more. So I mean, dude, not just anybody in today's sports world or boxing world is gonna get $11 million, right?
You mentioned Bob Arum, chimed in on the whole Keyshawn situation. He also chimed in on this one. He says, I don't know what's going on with this kid. He goes, I don't know what is happening. I don't know what his motivation is. I don't know who's advising him. He's a guy that I was around him earlier in his career. I did his pro debut when I was with Top Rank, and he's a good kid. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
You talk to him, very friendly. You like him. His dad is a bit of a wild card. He's a wild man. But Theo seems to be, the adult in that situation. But there does seem to be a lot of chaos that goes on around him. There's always seems to be some kind of.
He went through a bad divorce. I believe.
Yeah, I mean, is there such a thing as a good divorce? But
I mean, there can be some good divorces where you're civil and you're talking to your, the other person and stuff. But then you got some crazy divorces, man. And from what I heard, this was pretty bad. So I don't know if that got him that way. I don't know.
It seems to be a lot of the drama, as you said, is self-imposed. It's brought on himself.
Or maybe
so
he
we
just
wish him
likes
the best.
Maybe he just likes
drama.
drama.
Some people
like
operate in drama. Yeah, there's people that do operate in drama. But anyway, back to a little bit of drama, and they actually got this one right. The California Commission has declared Navarrete Suarez a no contest, as you guys may recall. We covered this a few weeks back where it was an accidental clash. No, they called it an accidental clash of heads.
Mm-hmm.
They went to the scorecards. They gave a technical decision to Navarrete, but when they went back, even though they had replay available to them, somehow they said they were not able to get the footage. Everybody else was able to get the footage.
Right.
And it clearly showed that it was a punch landed by Suarez. It's a no contest. They're saying they want a rematch. Is it too little too late as far as you're concerned?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it like you said, on slow motion, they went and saw back it was a left hand, actually. I saw it a little bit. I don't know if you saw it, but it was a left hand that actually cut Navarrete. And the fight was close at the point of the stoppage. I mean, two judges had it 77-76. One judge did have it 78-75. So, yeah, you know how you said no contest. I think Suarez deserves a rematch, and I want to see it.
Yeah, he's a guy that obviously, if he had won that fight, being from the Philippines, being from a place that's a boxing hotbed, it really would have elevated. It would have elevated his stock among the Filipinos. So yeah, that was disappointing to see that it happened at that particular point. But I'm also happy that they got it right. And maybe a little bit too little, too late, but they did get it right. It puts him in the position to set up the rematch. It sort of gives the fight a little bit more juice in the sense where before we thought this is kind of a gimme fight for Navarrete, but like I said, anytime I believe that Mexico Philippines is kind of getting to the point where it's almost like a mini Mexico Puerto Rico, with the whole Manny knocking out some of our great Mexican champions, and just that flavor that those two elements bring to a fight is pretty good to see.
Yeah, every time people, now you're right about that, especially with Manny coming back again. But every time you get a Mexican and a Filipino fight, you're gonna see action. and I believe that in that fight we're going to see a lot of action in the rematch. Plus, I think Suarez deserves the rematch, and you never know, Lupita. I mean, the fight was close. It was very competitive at the point of the stoppage, and he's got a chance to pull it out and win.
Suarez was very, very humble, very professional, very respectful at the end of the fight. You could tell you could tell it devastated him, but he was able to control his feelings, and he handled the loss unlike other people, like a true pro. And basically said, "Look,
like other people, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, one.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he handled like pro. So hopefully that does get made. It gets made
Yeah.
somewhere on the West Coast. I think it would be a huge fight. Diamante, tomorrow I am on my way to California. I'm going back for another show. I'm going to go disappear again.
Man, you're
I'm
busy,
going to go disappear.
Lupita.
Yeah, I'm going to go disappear in California. We got a show out at the Chicken Ranch Casino. Beautiful casino. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Nice scenery. There's mountains. I'm taking my jogging shoes. You should start running. I hear it's good for keeping your weight down. You're looking a little round there.
Hey,
You're looking a little bloated there and
that's
red.
my goal. That's my goal, man. That's my goal. As soon as I get taken care of this hole in the back. As a matter of fact, right now, when we get off, I got to go to the doctor again. They got to look at it. But tomorrow,
be more specific. Which hole in your back? You have a couple of holes back there.
The one where they removed the what do you call it? The sebaceous cyst. Actually, that was my second sebaceous cyst that they removed, Lupina, and it's genetic, man. People get them. You had one before too, but
it is not your fault, but it is your problem. Yeah, I did it Rambo Reynosa style. Got the blade, cut it out.
That's crazy, man.
You would think that the roles would be reversed. You would think it would be the fighter, doing the whole Rocky cut me, Mick. No, it's the fledgling ring announcer that did his own operation. So the tournament is taking place this weekend. The EMC All Stars are getting ready to go, or what?
No, the EMC All Stars. Like I said, we won the district championship, 5 games, 5-0 was great games. We got 1 week to rest, and the following week we'll be in Center, Texas for the regional championships, and we're all excited, man. Go EMC, 7U All Stars EMC.
Well, Maxi, for all of those who are concerned, Maxi is on the path to being 100%. His wounds aren't leaking anymore. He was walking around like a little he was walking around in a little baby onesie. The doctor told me to put that on him so he wouldn't leak. So he had a little baby onesie, and he's like all covered in blood in the front where it had the little, just like you, the little hole that had some,
draining. It was draining.
Stuff out. It was draining.
Yeah.
It was draining.
Yes.
So he was leaving little stains all over my home here. But he's doing good. So thank you very much for joining us once again. This was episode number 7. Now, hopefully it'll be lucky number 7, Diamante.
Let's go. Like and subscribe.
Where people will start liking.
People are talking about it. I promise you, Lupina. People are talking about it, but we gotta like and subscribe because we want us to keep going. We don't want to disappear, Lupina. We really don't want to disappear.
I can't afford to disappear twice, man. I cannot afford to disappear twice. So like and subscribe. Remember, it is Raul Marquez's Punchy with Lupe Contreras. You can find it on YouTube. Punchy Show on both YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Now, Raul has to go. He has a young, hot wife to satisfy, a young, burgeoning baseball player, major league prospect. How high is the contract now, Diamante? Like $400 million?
Hey, that's where the money's at, bro. That's where the money's at. Baseball, that's where the money's at.
It just keeps stacking up.
It keeps adding up. It keeps stacking up.
He has to go do that. I got to go pack some luggage because I'm disappearing once again somewhere in a boxing ring. But thank you for joining us. This is Raul Marquez's Punchy with Lupe Contreras, the #1 podcast in the world covering boxing, based in Houston, hosted by a former IBF Super Welterweight World Champion, former 92 Olympian, and a fledgling ring announcer. Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you soon.